There's a reason Britain feels broke right now, and it's probably not what you're thinking. I'm going to explain it. But first, you need to understand one thing: the debt to GDP ratio. I know, it sounds super boring, and well, it kind of is, but it's really important. Let's imagine this. Chocolate bourbon is the UK's national debt, and this custard cream is our GDP, which is just a fancy way of saying how rich the country is. When I was born back in 1994, the ratio was about 30%. So, for every pound the country made, the government owed about 30p in debt. It stayed pretty much like that until 2008. Remember when the banks ran out of money and we had to bail them out? That's when the debt jumped up to around 60%. So our pile of chocolate bourbons got a lot bigger. Over the next 10 years, under a Tory government, it rose even more, to about 80%. Then, a global pandemic hit. Nobody could go to work, so the government had to borrow even more money to keep things afloat. And today, Britain's debt-to-GDP ratio is around 100%. That means for every pound we make as a country, the government owes a pound in debt. Our biscuit stacks are now the same height. But here's the weird part. That's not even the main problem. If you look at France, their debt-to-GDP ratio is 113%. In America, it's 120%. In Japan, theirs is a staggering to 140%. They have way more debt compared to their economy than we do. So, what's the real issue? Why is our situation so tricky? Well, what's really mad is that Britain is paying more interest on its debt than any of these countries. Think about why. The people and institutions lending money to the government aren't just looking at the total amount of debt. They're looking at how quickly it's piling up. Let's use an analogy. Japan is your mate who's always in his overdraft. It's just how he lives. America is a guy who spends a lot, but he always shows up to work and has a high income. Britain, on the other hand, we were always a sensible one. But recently, it's like we bought a new dog, a new car, and a hair transplant all in the same month. We've been acting like we got a massive pay raise. But in reality, we've just maxed out a new credit card. Because of this sudden spending spree, the people who lend the government money to bond markets are starting to get nervous. They're charging us a lot more interest for it. We right now in this crazy position where 8% of all the money the government spends is just on servicing that debt. Just paying the interest, that's more than double the entire defense budget. And let me tell you, if you are spending more on your interest payments than you are on defending your country, that is not a good place to be. So, how do we get out of this mess? What are the solutions? Well, that's a whole other video. To hear about how we can fix this, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell for part 2. Thanks for watching.